Hi, everyone. In recent times, we have woken up to headlines that the United States has entered another war in the Middle East, not because Congress debated it or the American people supported it, but it is because the president decided to act alone at the end of the day, and that is not how our Constitution is supposed to work. My position is that military action against Iran should require congressional approval because unilateral presidential war making is unconstitutional, undemocratic, and prone to escalation at the end of the day. Like an escalation that we don't know the effects of, whether it's like another world war. First, military action without congressional approval undermines the Constitution. Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress, not the president, singularly, the power to declare war. The framers of the Constitution intentionally divided war powers because they feared the danger of one person having too much control over military decisions, like what's happening right now. And according to the National Constitution Center, modern military conflicts involving Iran have reignited debate over whether presidents have exceeded their constitutional authority by engaging in hostilities without explicit authorization from Congress. And at the end of the day, that should concern all Americans regardless of political party. I know some support the war in Iran and some don't, like depending on the party, but at the end of the day, depending on what the Constitution originally wrote, this war in Iran violates that, and that's something that all Americans should be concerned about. I believe that if presidents can wage war without Congress, then one of the Constitution's most important checks on executive power becomes meaningless. Secondly, bypassing Congress removes democratic accountability. War can impact and does impact every American. It risks soldiers' lives, it costs billions of our American taxpayer dollars, and it shapes international stability for years. And when military action is taken without congressional debate, the American people lose their voice in that decision. I found an argument from the Brennan Center for Justice that described unchecked executive military power would end up weakening democratic oversight, as it allows presidents to expand conflict without sufficient public scrutiny, as in Trump just being able to do whatever he wants and start this war without approval. And in a democracy, decisions this serious should not happen behind closed doors or by executive order. Third, I found that history shows that military escalation can spiral far beyond its original intent. The Council on Foreign Relations notes that many U.S. interventions in the Middle East began as limited operations, but expanded into prolonged conflicts with severe human and financial consequences. What started as a targeted strike, like Trump has said before, can quickly become years of war, like we saw in the early 2000s in Iraq in the Middle East. And once escalation begins, it becomes far harder to stop. Some argue that presidents need the ability to act quickly against threats, and that is true in immediate emergencies. But there is a difference between responding to an imminent threat, I believe, and engaging in sustained military conflict. Emergency defense does not justify bypassing Congress for broader war making, which is what's happening right now. In conclusion, I believe that war is too consequential to be decided by one person, and military action against Iran should require congressional approval because the Constitution demands it, democracy depends on it, and history warns us what happens when executive war powers go unchecked. And I believe that if we allow presidents to ignore Congress when entering war, then we abandon one of the most important protections our democracy was built upon.